Okay. All right. Good afternoon, all. This is the PHP Codeigniter setup class. How do we set up how do we download, how do we do all that? Of course, this we'll discuss it, and then let's start the installation. The manual, you know, we said that there are about 4 methods or 3 methods of installation. All that I know: composer installation, manual, and JIT. So the requirements we need to know first of all is that a PHP, it's a server-side scripting language, and we need some kind of requirements for us to write PHP programs. The requirements are we talked about requirements here. In fact, I've mentioned it here. The requirements are these, please. The requirements are the Codeigniter framework itself, not only server requirements, all requirements, XAMPP, PHP 7.2 and above, and the local database server. These are the things we need to carry out development. This XAMPP contains the PHP or the web server, not necessarily XAMPP even. Let me just say web server. These are the things you need, and we all have these in our system, right? But then for the XAMPP, you have to install, since we are going to work with version 4.0 of Codeigniter. Then the PHP, the recommended PHP for version 4.4 Codeigniter is 7.2 and above. So now this is a XAMPP, installed XAMPP in my system. And if I start my Apache and then I start the MySQL, both of them are running, up and running. I told you might be having issues of class path issues or port number issues if you are having different installations of MySQL. For example, if you have please close the window. If, for example, you had installed MySQL for client, MySQL client server or MySQL server, and you install this XAMPP, there is going to be conflict because MySQL client is having MySQL installation, and this XAMPP is having MySQL installation. So you have to do some kind of workaround to separate the port number to each of the programs, so it will work. And then you have to do that of resolution for the service. That has been taught out, it has been done. So now I have my SQL running. Sorry, I have XAMPP running. XAMPP means any Windows, Apache PHP, and PAL, right? That means you can run this in any Windows. And so the next is we try to download what we said, this manual installation of Codeigniter. I've already downloaded Codeigniter, and I have it somewhere, I think in the download folder. If you download from the site, you see framework.zip. So that framework.zip is your Codeigniter framework. This is it, 4.4.zip. So you are to extract it. When you extract, I'm extracting within this. After the extraction, then you copy the folder into the MySQL htdocs folder. Sorry, into the XAMPP htdocs folder, because that is where all applications, all web applications that are developed to use the Apache web server for running, that's where they are being kept. So then you pick it there, paste it there, and then you unzip it. Okay, I thought my video is not running. So now let's wait for the extraction to complete. You have space there. Okay. All right. So it has finished the extraction. I mean, yeah, it has finished unzipping extraction. So let me just copy this, and then I come back to my XAMPP, and I'll click on Explorer. After clicking on Explorer, it explodes to the XAMPP installation folder. This is the directory where XAMPP has been installed. Then you move to htdocs. After moving it to htdocs, then you paste it there, and then you rename it to the appropriate application you want to, or the name you want to call it. Maybe we may create one application called Mini Sevens. So let me just name it Mini Sevens. This is the same thing as creating a folder, copying the content of the file and pasting it into it. Is something, but I prefer copying the folder itself. So now this is the application. Now if I want to run it, first of all, before even pasting the folder in there, let me go to XAMPP. Let me go to browser. If I want to know whether my XAMPP is working correctly or not, I come up with this URL, localhost. If I press localhost, it takes me directly to the dashboard of the XAMPP, and then that's where you see the version of the XAMPP and everything. And now this tells you that XAMPP is what is working. If you can see this, your XAMPP is working correctly. So the next is you browse to where? You know this, and when I say localhost, I'm trying to run the application locally from my own system, right? So then Mini Sevens. This is the folder where I've created my. You see, it has browsed to the minis. Oh, you seen it so tiny, right? Let me magnify. I'm sorry, you haven't even seen the folder correctly, if this is the case, right? Okay, this is where I went to. When I click on Explorer in the XAMPP, it takes me to this MySQL installation folder. Okay, the zooming is too much. Okay, this is where it has taken me to. So I pasted what I have copied. I went to htdocs. All applications are found here. Okay, if you want to move an application to maybe locally to another system, you just copy this folder and then configure it there. So this is where I have to rename it to this. Are we getting it? So now I wanted to browse to this. So from the browser, I use a URL here that moves to this. Formerly it was this. When I say localhost and I press enter, it takes me to the installation folder of what? The XAMPP. So here I will now erase this, and then Mini Sevens. Please, have we done the modeling for Mini Sevens? Huh? Mini Sevens, we have done model for it. How many classes, how many entities do you have? Anyway, that's what we are going to develop in PHP class. Well, for Java class we develop the other, that is E something. So here, now this is the content of what? What is happening? This is the content of the folder. But you know, this is Codeigniter, right? So we haven't finished installing it. Then I wanted to browse to the folder public. I can double click here, or I just call it here public, and I press enter. Oh, then I'm having same issue with yours. That means it is from what you, that means you have to, download it yourself. But then the other one I was using was CI4. I was thinking about this. You see this one, then I double click this, then it works. So this, what I did is I picked the zipped file, and I did the unzipping within the installation folder of XAMPP, the HD docs. Then I deleted the zip, and I use it. So it's from that. Please, everybody should download the version, the Codeigniter version 4, from his system, and then you do the download, because maybe the transfer from system from one place to another, probably that's what happened. And I was trying to look for the solution for this, and I started seeing some things, so we are able to resolve it now. Please do the download yourself, download it from, or alternatively, maybe when we discuss the composer installation, just do composer installation. It is much more reliable than this one, because composer will download it correctly to you, and it takes just minor data. It doesn't consume much. So what I will do is I will let me delete this one. Before deleting, I've copied it. I'll delete this, and then I will use this CI4. I will rename it to this. Are you seeing what I'm doing? I've renamed it, and then now let me go back to the I will refresh this. It tells you, of course, because CI4 is no more there, so you see error 404. We'll discuss about this error. That means resource is not found. That's the meaning of 404. When anywhere you see 404, the resource you're looking for is not found. That is the meaning. Because CI4 is no more there as a folder, but then I have mini settings, right? Mini settings. You see, it has even accomplished it itself. So it is there. Then I'll now move to what? Public. And I'll press enter. So if you're able to see this welcome page of Codeigniter, you're able to successfully install Codeigniter. Please, this is the welcome page. If you're able to see this, you're done. Then remaining some kind of settings. The settings, I'm not going to take all the settings, because some of them are somehow confusing. So we'll pick maybe only 2 settings. We'll work with it. After a week, then we'll pick another one, depending on what we need. So this is what we're expecting everybody to have. So please download it directly, and then do the extraction within the HD docs folder, and delete the zip, and then use the extracted file. Always try to be downloading things yourselves, so you become familiar. So now this is the installation, and let me then move to the documentation, where we discuss how things are done here. Okay, HST docs. I open notebook of it. I've given you one book. We're going to discuss some things right now, and this is the one you need to know about. Please, this is the documentation that comes right from the company. And this one is the tutorial. Where is it? Right, this one. But for this, there are some things you need to adjust yourself while reading it, because this is version 4 or version 3, while we are working with version 4. So let me discuss this installation. I mean, these manipulations or settings, and then there is something I would like us to discuss it here. But then this, I'm going to send this to you because we haven't sent it. It's 761 pages. I'm not saying you're going to read everything there, but then there are some pages you need to go through for you to understand what we are doing. So now the Codeigniter user guide. Here it talks about the welcome to Codeigniter 4. Let me just go in there so we see what you see. They discuss things here, server requirements, all these kind of things. Please go through these things. We started discussing this with you. You know, as I told you, this is what they need. For the MySQL, they need 5.1 and above. That plus means and above. And then for Postgres, you can use Postgres, you can use SQLite. Do you know SQLite? You can use SQLite 3. And then the driver we're going to connect to Codeigniter 4 is this MySQL iDriver. You know, this is not Java. Java you use JDBC. For Codeigniter you use MySQL iDriver. You'll be taught how you're going to integrate this. It's part of the settings we are going to carry out in the .env file. That's environment file. So for Postgres you use Postgres driver, and for SQLite you use SQLite 3 driver. So please go through these installations and whatever. And all right. So here it discusses about the installations, the manual installation, the composer installation, as we said, the JIT installation. Now run your app. Can you recall we discussed this yesterday? How do you run your application? All web servers, all web applications require the services of web servers or application servers. I repeat, all web applications, for them to run, they need either web application or application. They need either web server or application server. So the web server we wanted using here is Apache. Apache is one of the web servers. Apache Tomcat, JBoss, a lot of other web servers. So now, yesterday we discussed on one Spark, but for me to I wouldn't want to. You can also run Codeigniter without Apache. You can use Spark to run it. We'll demonstrate, but then let's discuss this configuration. Okay. Initial configuration and setup, local development server, hosting with Apache, hosting with Vagrant. There is even about another one called Vagrant. That's what we are going to discuss now. Initial configuration, for you to start using this after the installation, after seeing the welcome page like this. This is what you need to do. Open the app config app.php file. This of what? Of your project. Are we getting? So I'm sorry, I haven't sent you this. Let me start it over. This is Visual Studio Studio Code. We're going to use this as our we're going to use it as our IDE. Instead of me using bracket is not as smart as this. All this code guessing, all that, bracket is not giving you. So I'll give you this for installation. This is the environment you'll be using to write your codes. Do we understand? It's like when you're using NetBeans, you're using NetBeans to write Java program. Anyway, you can use NetBeans to write PHP, of course. But this is the one we're going to be using now. So, okay, this welcome page. Let me just. So, this installation, please let's understand this. This configuration is going to be done where? It's going to be done from the project folder, but via an IDE. Don't use just any Dick and Harry Notepad, MAO or TXT something. So use a smart IDE, please. So I'm now going to open the folder where I've done the installation. Are you getting this? I'll open the folder where installation of my project is. So let's go do it together. Let me open folder. I can open file. Let me go to open folder. Then I'll go to D. That's where I install my XAMPP, right? Then I'll search for what? XAMPP. Then I'll move to where? htdocs. Is it not? Then I'll move to what? The project. Is it not? Then this is now what I have. So I'll click on it and I'll select what? Select folder. Then it will open the content of that folder here. Let me do this. Please, are we understanding? Yes. This is the content of my folder. Let's confirm it, please. I installed my XAMPP in D for some reasons. So yours, for your own case, you go to C if that's where you have installed it. So I'll search for XAMPP, and then I'll search for what? XAMPP. I'm into XAMPP now. Then htdocs. So this is the folder, right? These are the folders for the project. Is it? Good. Okay, mini service. Sorry. This is the folder now of the project mini service. Are we getting it? Good. Okay, let me magnify. Sorry. Can we see it now? It is visible now, right? And then please look up here. Please read some things from the Explorer. This is what we have, right? App, public, system, writable. You must see these folders in every project. If anyone is missing, that means your installation is not correct or your download is not correct. Are we there? So now if I open this in an IDE, I will see same, but in this arrangement. Where is it? All right. App, public, system, writable. Is it? Yes. Good. So, what are the content of these things? We need to understand the content of these folders. That's why I wrote this for you. Folder structures. That is another thing we need to know. App. This is where all application folders are found. That is in the app folder. Within it, there are subdirectories. This is a directory. Directory means folder. So subdirectories are subfolders. So we have config, controllers, model, controllers, database, filter, helpers, language, libraries. These are the contents. And then we have another one called public. I think you've seen it, right? And then we have system. And then we have admin. We have a lot of folders like that. Each and every one has its own function. If you come to this, within it we have controller. And we explain it here. I will explain it. We are just browsing through. Then we have database. We will explain. We have model. Okay? So now look up here. All right, this is it now. App. Can you see all that? Okay, so we need to know the functions of each. Okay, my screen is black, but you see it, right? It's all right. This is, Visual Studio Code. You can change the color anyway. So then we have what? Public, and then we have system, and then we have System has lot of things. API, all that are there. Then you have writable. Okay, so you need to understand this, please. And then we have another file here called env. So these are the things we'll be working with. Now let's go back to the configuration we have stated the other time. Here, come over here, please. They say open the app, then config, and then app.php file with a text editor. What is text editor? Your ID, is it not? Text editor, and set your base URL. The base URL is the URL you'll be using. You always be calling for your application to run. If you need more flexibility, the base URL may be set within the .env file, app.base URL, this, that. So please, we're not going to use .env for now. Let's use this configuration, app/config/app.php. So let me go back to the. We need to understand this. I know it is somehow you just seen it, you've seen it for the first time. It is somehow, but this is not. This is what app, right? I click, and then I go to what config. I'll click it, and then I'll come to app.php. This is now a file, not a folder. It's a file. So after coming here, then you now browse to your base URL. Can you see base URL here? I've already changed it. If you check yours, it's not going to be this. You know, I've changed it when I was doing the. I changed it to CI4. So now there's going to be problem because we are not using CI4. Formerly, you see localhost there. So please, you know, configurations. You must have to do configurations if you are developing, because the way things are coming by default might not suit you. So you direct it to how you wanted it. You see, this is how our URL look like now. Is it? So please copy this and paste it there. That's just it. You've done the configuration for what? Come to your IDE, and then you have to be very careful because these things are within single quotes, right? So paste it there and then save it. That's all. You're done with that. So go and do the other configuration. You can do this from env. That will be we'll have to do that later. But then for now, as we just started, let's do this. If you intend to use the database, open the app config database.php file with a text editor and set your database settings. Alternatively, you could do that also in .env file. Are we there, please? Yes, of course we want to use database. So let's go back to the environment again. All right, and then we'll look for database.php. Click on this, and this is now database.php. Database configuration package config. You know, this is Codeigniter is based on object-oriented, OOP. That's how it is. It uses OOP technology to execute. So this is now a class, like your Java class or something. So it is object-oriented. It's based on object-oriented. It says class database extend Codeigniter database config. That's the class name. So now please come in here. Can you see file path of database? You have to do all the settings for this. Since we are not going to start doing the database whatever now, we can stop here. We can just leave this database configuration for now and continue with other things. File configurations, all these, you state all that. Please, can you see your DNS, your hostname, your username, your password, your database? That's database name. The driver, can you see it has even given you the driver? We discussed this, if you can recall. We said it. The driver is what? MySQL. And then the prefix, if you have the connect, if the debug, all these are there. And then the port number, lastly the port number, the most important one, port number, you have to state it. Right. So we're going to discuss this when we are, but then as part of configuration, we must know that it is being done in the database.php under the app config folders. So now all this we have done. There is another configuration we're supposed to do okay, let me see from the manual if it has brought it. Otherwise we'll have to do that, or we discuss it from the other something. In addition, you can do it, as I told you, you can do it in the environment phase.env. All right, so before we continue with some other things here, may we discuss the Spark? Yes. I told you must have to have a web server. So Spark is the bundled web server that comes bundled with the Codeigniter. So you can use it to do your development even if you have no Apache. But the only thing, the restriction is that you can only use it for local development. You cannot host it on a realistic server and continue to use Spark. So please, let's now configure. We are done with our configuration. We're done with it, because anytime we execute from our from our IDE, it will run to this because we have done the base URL. So now let's do Spark, and then maybe get a place to stop, and probably by tomorrow we'll begin to write some simple controllers and some simple views of pages, and see how we can relate the two to work. I know most of you are seeing it. It's somehow boring, but for the Spark to run, you have to run your command prompt. You are going to run from your command prompt for you to be running Spark. So command prompt means your DOS. So run it as admin, please, so you don't have issues with all these privileges and whatever. So this is now what we have. Let's go by what the manual says. Codeigniter comes with a local development server, leveraging PHP, whatever this is. You can use it for, as I said, local development server. So for you to use you have to run it from the directory of the installation of the PHP of the Codeigniter, please. When you are able to change to the directory, then you supply this command and then you run it. But then you should know that by default, this is where the Spark runs its own. Spark runs via what? Localhost 8080. That's where you see it. You won't see a localhost. Of course, you can change it, but you don't see localhost, all this the program, whatever. You understand? So what do we do here from our from here? So what you do is you go back to the root directory. You see, as I told you, you should know the installation path of your XAMPP. So my installation path is D, so I have to change the directory to D, please. If you know those, this is how you change your directory. Just introduce. But for your own case, you don't need to change. You only need to browse to where your installation folder of XAMPP is in your C drive. Are we getting it? So now I'll now say cd XAMPP. It has changed to XAMPP because that's why it is being installed. Is it? So if I want to see the content of XAMPP, I can say directly. So it gives me all the files. You may not see exactly what I can see screen directly. You see it stopped like this. So please look up the files here. And you know, Apache, all these. Did you see hdocs? Hdocs is there, right? Yes. It is there, right? So I can browse the hdocs. But then you have to finish up this. All right. So this is what I have. I can now say cd. When I say cd, I mean change directory cd htdocs. Sorry, I used to say hdocs. htdocs. There is What is happening? It's like some guys are not following. So htdocs is there. We are there, right? Then I have to move to Codeigniter project. What is the Codeigniter project? If I say directly, I may see it just at a glance. I have what? Mini savings, is it? So I'll now say cd mini savings. Mini savings is there. We've seen it, right? So this is where you are supposed to write that command that says php spark serve. This command. If you are not here, it will not work. Just understand this. What do you call it? This installation. It's a simple setting. So what is there? Look at the command here, please. PHP what? Spark. Is it hard? Is it hard?
No, sir.
Somebody says yes. PHP spark. Spark this way. Serve, not server. Serve. Then you press enter. So please read the command here. What does it say? Codeigniter this, right? Codeigniter development server started on what? So that means if I now log on to localhost 8080, it will run. You see Codeigniter's what? Welcome page. So let's see. What I will do is, for us not to be confused, let me stop my exam. Okay, I've stopped it. So that means if I run this page again, there will be error, right? Since it is not running, is it?
Yes.
So I'm reloading. Of course, localhost page is not working. We cannot see anything here. Is it? So now let's open another tab and call localhost 8080. Localhost. If I leave it localhost this way, it will not work because XAMPP is now started, right? Localhost colon 8080 and press enter. Can you see Codeigniter? It's working. So go back there and do something here, please. It's working. It tells you that if you want to stop it, you do what? Press what? Control C. Right? So let's stop it by pressing Ctrl C. If you press Ctrl C, it has stopped. So now let's see. Can we run it again? We need to be verifying what we're doing. Let's reload it, right? You've seen it? Look at 8080. When you reload, goes off. So let's do it again. Let's go back to the code. What do you call it? Command prompt. You see, a developer should never be afraid of code. If you are afraid of code, I'm sorry for you, because anything you see is code. So try to absorb it, and it becomes part of you. And then, so press enter here. It has started, right? Codeigniter development started, right? Okay. Now go to the what do you call it? Right click and reload. Can you see? It is back.
Yes.
So let me stop the video here, so we don't. Tomorrow, inshallah, we'll start discussing how we work with our controllers. We try to understand what the controllers are all about and some fake pages. Maybe by tomorrow, I'm going to give you assignment of writing all the pages we are going to develop. Yes, you can do it. What is there? Where is the so we don't it's all right.